Voyage to the Red Planet, humanity's first step on Mars. Prelude, the dawn of Martian exploration. By the mid-2020s, the dream of landing humans on Mars became reality, thanks to SpaceX's cutting-edge spacecraft technology and an unprecedented global partnership. The mission, dubbed Odyssey, united astronauts from four space agencies: NASA, the European Space Agency, ESA, Roscosmos, and the Canadian Space Agency. This first manned mission to Mars would include a crew of four: one American, one Russian, one Canadian, and one ESA astronaut. Their task was to explore the Red Planet, conduct scientific experiments, and lay the groundwork for future missions. The Odyssey crew consisted of Commander John Harris, USA, NASA, the mission leader and seasoned astronaut with extensive experience in space operations and survival tactics; Dr. Alexei Morozov, Russia, Roscosmos, a veteran cosmonaut and spacecraft engineer responsible for maintaining the spacecraft's critical systems; Dr. Hannah Kaur, Canada, CSA, a biomedical scientist and physician tasked with monitoring the crew's health and studying Martian biology; Captain Lars Reinhardt, Germany, ESA, a geologist and robotics expert in charge of surface exploration and sample collection. Chapter 1, The Technology of Odyssey, a bold step forward. Built by SpaceX, Odyssey was a technological marvel designed for deep space travel. It featured a cutting-edge nuclear thermal propulsion system, which reduced the trip to Mars to 6 months, and advanced life support systems that would recycle air, water, and waste for the entire journey. Despite this, the mission posed significant risks, from unpredictable mechanical failures to the dangers of cosmic radiation during extended exposure beyond Earth's protective magnetosphere. To mitigate radiation risks, Odyssey was equipped with state-of-the-art shielding, using materials that absorbed and deflected high-energy particles. However, the technology was still in its infancy, and the crew knew they were facing long-term exposure that would inevitably take a toll on their bodies. Life support was another delicate system, relying on automation to ensure the constant recycling of resources. But even with fail-safes in place, the crew remained vulnerable to unexpected malfunctions. Chapter 2, The Journey to Mars. Surviving the unknown. Once Odyssey left Earth's orbit, the crew entered the long stretch of space between the planets. The journey was smooth at first, with each astronaut performing their assigned tasks. However, just 2 months into the mission, an unexpected issue with the life support system, a malfunction in the oxygen scrubbers, caused an emergency that required Dr. Morozov and Commander Harris to manually fix it. The system was stabilized, but the incident highlighted the precarious nature of relying on untested technology for such a long mission. The mental toll of isolation began to manifest as well. Commander Harris, already under pressure to lead, grew increasingly serious, while Captain Reinhardt became restless, feeling the weight of the upcoming geological survey on Mars. Dr. Kaur remained the crew's emotional anchor, focusing on health monitoring and maintaining morale during the long voyage. Communication delays with Earth, which grew longer as the spacecraft approached Mars, added to the psychological strain. As Odyssey neared its destination, the crew knew they would soon face the biggest challenges of their lives. Chapter 3, Mars. A rough landing. After 6 months, Odyssey reached Mars and prepared for its descent to the surface. The landing site was Gale Crater, chosen for its intriguing geological features and potential for water-rich minerals. However, Mars' thin atmosphere made the descent treacherous. Strong winds forced Commander Harris to take manual control, guiding the spacecraft down in a nerve-wracking landing that left the crew shaken but unharmed. The habitat, which had been pre-sent to Mars, was set up near the landing site. The crew immediately began conducting their experiments. Captain Reinhardt led the collection of soil and rock samples, while Dr. Kaur studied the possibility of microbial life. However, the mission quickly took a grim turn. Chapter 4, The Accident, a Major Setback. Just over a week into the mission, Captain Reinhardt suffered a serious fall while collecting geological samples from a steep ridge. His left leg was broken, and he also sustained a head injury, forcing him out of commission for the remainder of the mission. The injury compromised a significant portion of the geological survey, one of the mission's primary objectives. Dr. Kaur treated him as best she could with the limited medical supplies available, but Reinhardt's mobility was severely restricted. With Reinhardt sidelined, Commander Harris and Dr. Morozov had to take on additional surface operations, causing delays in the planned research schedule. Despite the setback, the crew adapted. Dr. Kaur's biological research continued, and she made a significant discovery of subsurface ice deposits, a finding that could support future human colonies on Mars. This revelation boosted the crew's morale and reinforced the importance of their mission, even in the face of adversity. Chapter 5. The Return Journey, a Final Sacrifice. After 30 days on Mars, the crew prepared to leave the planet and begin their return to Earth. Despite the setbacks, they had gathered invaluable data and samples. However, shortly after leaving Mars' orbit, catastrophe struck. The spacecraft's nuclear propulsion system suffered a critical malfunction, and the cooling system for the reactor began to overheat. If the reactor wasn't vented manually, it would explode, killing everyone aboard. Dr. Morozov, the most experienced engineer, volunteered to conduct the repair. The procedure required him to exit the spacecraft and manually vent the reactor, a task that would expose him to lethal doses of radiation. Morozov understood the risks, but accepted his fate, knowing it was the only way to save the crew. With solemn resolve, he performed the repair, ensuring the safety of his fellow astronauts. He died soon after, his sacrifice allowing Odyssey to continue its journey home. Chapter 6. The Return to Earth. Success amidst tragedy. The remaining 3 crew members returned to Earth as heroes. They had not only survived the treacherous voyage, but also made groundbreaking discoveries that would shape future missions to Mars. However, their return was bittersweet. Dr. Morozov's sacrifice weighed heavily on the crew, particularly Commander Harris, who had formed a close bond with the Russian cosmonaut. Despite the tragic loss, the mission was hailed as a success. Among the key objectives achieved were successful landing and return. The Odyssey crew became the first humans to set foot on Mars and return to Earth, proving the feasibility of manned missions to the Red Planet. Geological discoveries. Captain Reinhardt's work, although cut short, led to the identification of key rock formations and mineral samples that could provide insights into Mars' history and its potential for hosting life. Subsurface ice deposits. Dr. Kaur's discovery of water ice on Mars was a major success, as it could provide a resource for future colonists, both for drinking water and potentially for producing oxygen and fuel. Advances in life support technology. The crew's experiences with the closed-loop life support system, while not flawless, provided critical data that would inform the design of future Mars habitats. The Odyssey mission marked a pivotal moment in human exploration. The challenges faced by the crew, from technical failures to personal sacrifice, underscored the immense difficulty of reaching Mars and returning safely. Yet their success opened the door for future missions and inspired the world with the possibilities of interplanetary exploration. Though Dr. Alexei Morozov gave his life, his sacrifice ensured the survival of the mission and his crewmates, securing his legacy as a hero of humanity's quest to conquer the stars. As plans for future Mars colonization moved forward, the Odyssey mission would be remembered not only for its achievements, but also for the courage and resolve of the men and women who made it possible.